what's up? It's Karen San Diego, and today's video is going to be part 1 of a 3-part VSG Q&A video. Now, about a month ago, I said that I was going to be doing a Q&A video, a huge Q&A, when I hit 10,000 subscribers. And if you go ahead and look down at the subscriber count, I have officially hit 10,000 subscribers. And in honor of hitting 10,000 subscribers, I wanted to answer some of your questions that a lot of you have been asking me. I gave you a Google form to fill out as many questions as you got, and I got a lot of questions. So because of that, I split this video up into 3 parts. This is part 1. In order to make these videos make sense, I separated them into 3 categories. So I have this video, which is going to be mostly about love, sex, family, friendships after VSG. Then we will do a video about everything you need to know pre-op based off your questions. And then another video answering questions about post-op. So like I said, this video is going to be answering questions, the questions that I received that related to love, sex, friendship, and family. Maybe a few questions in there may not be exactly around that, but for the most part, all of the questions in this video that I'm answering are going to be around those things. I have my iPad right here to be able to answer all of your questions. I have looked at the questions, but I have not pre-planned any question answers in my head. So this is just going to be right off the top of the head. I'm answering these questions for you. I tried to make sure that I included everybody's question. Certain questions were kind of repetitive, so I might have just looped them with another question. But if you hear your question being answered, go ahead and put a heart emoji in the comments. And without further ado, let's get into the first question. All right, so the first question says, have you ever experienced any problems in your relationship? Jealousy or supportiveness throughout your journey? So when this person is asking about if I experienced problems in my relationship, I'm assuming they mean like after VSG, related to VSG, jealousy, support or supportiveness through your journey. All right, so for this one, in any relationship, regardless of what it is that you're going through, change is going to be difficult for the relationship. And what I will say is that after VSG, it's not just the outside of you that starts to change. It's the inside as well. So your personality starts to change. Things you like start to change. Your interests may start to change. And all of that can be kind of heavy on a relationship. And I will say it's definitely something that we've struggled with, in that sometimes I feel like in my head it would be easier if I had a partner who was literally going through this with me. I know that there are some people who've done that. Like, I've watched a few YouTube videos actually of couples who have gone on this journey together. And I always feel a little bit envious of that, because I'm like, damn, like I'd love to be able to have my husband going through this with me, so that I would be able to have him understand certain things that I'm going through, and wouldn't feel tempted when I see him eating things that I can't or won't eat. When it comes to jealousy, I wouldn't say that I feel like he's jealous of me. I wouldn't say that. But I would say that sometimes I feel like he doesn't fully get it. And I think that that has led to some arguments that maybe didn't have to happen. But, and a lot of those arguments would really be around things like him suggesting ordering food outside when I am really trying to be careful about prepping my meals and things like that. Or the arguments would be about, yeah, it's mostly that. Like, it's mostly food. And I'd love to be able to say that I'm the type of person that if I'm on a journey, I can just ignore what everybody else is doing and just do my own thing. So even if he orders what's something that I like mac and cheese, that's like a weakness for me. I love to be able to say that if he ordered mac and cheese, I could just watch him eat the mac and cheese and I won't want any. But that's not the case for me. I'm definitely gonna want some. And sometimes when I feel like, damn, like you're making decisions that are tempting me to make the wrong decisions, and I constantly just kind of phrase it as like I'm recovering from a food addiction, and being exposed to those foods are not what's good for me. But at the same time, I also have to understand that this was a decision that I made to go on a journey for myself, and he didn't make that decision. So he still very much is allowed to eat whatever he wants to eat. but sometimes I think I do feel like I wish we were doing it together. And that definitely does lead to problems. Not problems in our relationship, but arguments in our relationship. Yeah. But as far as jealousy, no, definitely not. I don't feel like my husband is jealous of me at all. He encourages me. He was a huge support system through this journey. So no, definitely not jealous. And the second part of that question was talking about supportiveness. Like, I'm assuming they meant like lack of support. And for that, no, I did not feel a lack of support. The only time I ever felt like I wasn't being supported was once again around like him ordering something that I should not be eating, and kind of tempting me to want to eat certain things that I shouldn't be eating, that kind of thing. But definitely feel like my husband is super supportive of me in this journey, and I feel super grateful for that. All right, the next question is, did your doctor discuss the possibility of conceiving a child after surgery? A big part of me wanting the operation is so I'll be healthier during my next pregnancy. Okay, yes. So this one, 100% yes, this did come up in my pre-op appointments, and that was just because a lot of the times being overweight can cause infertility. Losing weight can make you more fertile than you were before. So definitely it was brought up that like you might want to get on some birth control after you get the surgery, because it is known that people do tend to get pregnant after surgery just because you're more fertile. It could also be PCOS, like your PCOS symptoms tend to be regulated because of the surgery, and because of that, you become more fertile. So yes, that is definitely something that was brought up, and definitely something I'm aware of, and definitely something that I'm pushing away. I do not want to be pregnant. But yeah, the surgery 1000% does increase your fertility. So if you are somebody who is trying to conceive, great. You're gonna be good. However, if you're someone that doesn't want to conceive, then I definitely recommend looking into birth control options even before you have the surgery. All right, the third question says, mentally, how has it been cooking for your family things that you cannot or should not eat? Now this one is like, so as far as my daughter is concerned, my daughter is an extremely, extremely picky eater. So she really does not have that many things that she will eat. And to be honest, a lot of the things that she will eat are frozen, like chicken nuggets and things like that. So I'm not really ever that like inclined to eat her food. Maybe I'll like take a chicken nugget or two if I just like I'm hungry and don't feel like cooking something. But for the most part, nothing I cook my daughter tempts me to eat it in any way. Definitely not. However, with my husband, I will sometimes get tempted to eat something he's eating. But for the most part, what I'll do when I cook for my husband is I'll make, you know, a protein and a side dish, and then I'll just eat the protein, and then I'll give him the rice and the meat or whatever it is. So like, for example, the other day I made him steak with like spinach rice, and that day he ate the steak and the rice, and I ate just the steak. And for that, and that way it's fine. I actually don't crave rice. Rice fills me up really, really quickly. So I'm never like, oh my God, I wish I could have the rice. I'm actually good off that. Like, I want to be able to eat as much protein as I can. And if I know if I have even a little bit of rice, I'm gonna be full. So, yeah, so that's usually what I do. Even if I made him something, any type of thing, I'll eat the protein of whatever I cook for him, and then he'll eat the protein plus whatever side I prepared. And with the exception of macaroni, I don't ever get tempted to eat the side dish that I prepared for him. However, he doesn't really like macaroni like that. So I don't ever have to make that for him. I make it for my daughter sometimes. And when I do that, I will just have a little bit. Like, it's not a big deal. I do believe that everything is fine for you in moderation. So if I make her some mac and cheese, I'll have a little bit of mac and cheese, and then I'll go about my day. And I don't do that often, but sometimes I'll just give in and I'll eat a little bit of it. But I think this question is more so thinking about like, if like every single time they eat something, if I'm like, oh, I'm tempted to eat it. Honestly, if they're eating something and I feel tempted to eat it, I do. I just eat it. I'll have a little bit and I'll move on. I am at the point now in my journey where I don't allow myself to feel bad about eating things that I wanted to eat. I just allow myself to have a very small amount of it and move on. However, in the beginning, that was a little bit more difficult for me, because in the first like 5 months, I was trying harder to be more strict so I can lose more weight. But now that I'm getting to a weight where I'm comfortable, I'm not as worried about that. But I'm still sticking to my rule of everything in moderation and eating healthy most of the time. So in the event that I do cook something for them, usually whatever I made for the protein for them would be fine for me to have as a meal for myself. All right, so the next question is, how do you plan your meals for the week when you have to plan for your family to eat too? And that's pretty similar to the previous question, but a little bit different. So that's why I put this as a separate question. For my family, like I said, I don't plan meals for my daughter because she eats very specific things. So I just make her food when it's dinner time. As for my husband, he orders food quite often because I don't like to cook large amounts of food anymore. So for the most part, he'll order his food or just make something quickly. If I do cook for him, I will eat what I make him, but I just will eat the protein and I won't eat the rice like I said before. But when it comes to meal prepping, I do want to start planning my meals for the week, so I'm going to be doing a video about that. But as of right now, I really don't pre-plan meals like that. Like right now, I have some chicken thighs seasoning to cook for me and my husband. My daughter will not eat that. So with that, a whole chicken thigh would be too much for me. I would just make it with like rice or something for him. And for me, I would just probably have like half of one and save the rest for later. And that's what I'd eat. That's how I handle it. The next question is, do you think someone who is breastfeeding and had the surgery can still lose weight as rapidly as others? So for this question, I guess it would depend on what your doctor told you to do. I can assume that if you're breastfeeding, your doctor might have told you to up your calories a little bit. However, I also know from experience from when I was breastfeeding that breastfeeding also helps you lose weight as well. So I think those two might kind of balance each other out, and you'd continue losing weight. Because even with eating a little bit more to be able to get enough nutrients to breastfeed, you're still not going to be eating enough food to gain weight. And then breastfeeding on top of that is going to help you lose weight. So I think you'd be good. So if you're any breastfeeding moms, I think you would still lose as much weight as everybody else while breastfeeding your baby. Next question. Has anyone in your life decided not to support you in this journey? For this question, I think, so I'll say that nobody in my life outwardly has like been like, no, I'm not going to support you. I think this is stupid. Do not do this. No, nobody in my life did that. But I will say that there are some people that are more supportive than others, for sure. While nobody has blatantly came out and said, I'm not going to support you, there have been people in my life who have been pretty silent during this time and haven't checked on me even when I was in the hospital, who haven't like congratulated me on any sort of weight loss, who haven't checked in and things like that. And to me, that is basically you saying that you don't support me, but also people got their own stuff going on. I'm not the center of everybody's universe, so I get that. But to answer your question, no, nobody has like blatantly not supported me, but there have been people that, you know, I wish were a little bit more supportive that just have been kind of silent. And silence speaks volumes. All right, this next question I know is what you guys are here for. This is the juicy stuff. I want to say that this next question, there were so many questions like this that I kind of grouped a bunch of them together here to be able to not have this be like 15 videos long. All right, so here's the question. How has sex changed for you since major weight loss? I'm in the pre-op stage and excited to see changes for myself in this area. I can barely get on top for 5 minutes without being out of breath. And she says, LOL, thank you for being honest and always sharing the TMI questions. Y'all know, ain't nothing TMI for me. Losing weight increases your energy, that we know. Being heavier makes it a lot harder to be light on your feet. The person said in this question, I can barely get on top for 5 minutes without being out of breath. Things like that are definitely going to be better just because you weigh less. So you're able to hold up your own weight better than you were before. So 1000% that gets better. And then energy wise, you have more energy, you feel lighter, but more importantly, you feel better about the way that you look. I know for me personally, when I was heavier, I did not want to be seen naked, just because I didn't feel confident in myself. So I would constantly try to hide myself. And obviously, if you know you're being intimate with somebody, you can't really do that. You can't really hide yourself. You have to be free and be able to just be seen. So now I definitely feel a lot more confident just naked, letting it all hang out. I'm sorry, I'm immature. I'm sorry. But yeah, I definitely feel more confidence. I feel lighter. I feel more sexual for sure. And just even just like being in that headspace, I'd say before, I wasn't even thinking about that because I did not feel confident in myself. I did not feel like I looked good. I did not feel sexy. Now, girl, now it's to the point where like I get out the shower and I see myself in the mirror without clothes on, and like I'll stop and I'll look at myself and I'll get like turned on by me. And I think that's the key right there. Like you want to feel good, so good about yourself that it don't even matter if that other person is there, right? Like just that new feeling of just feeling so good about the way that you look, that alone is going to improve your sex life just because you feel sexy yourself. Like that is what you need. That alone is going to improve your sex life just because you feel sexy yourself. You don't need validation from anybody else. You just feel that way. The newfound energy and all that kind of stuff is great, but the biggest thing with that is just the fact that you will feel honestly like you look so much better. What I will say with that though is that it is not all butterflies and rainbows, because although yes, you are in a smaller body, it does come with new insecurities. A big one for me is my boobs. So while yes, I do feel comfortable with no clothes on, I don't necessarily feel comfortable without a bra on. And that's because of how much loose skin I have in that area, how much they sag now where they didn't before. It makes me feel really, really self-conscious. And this is a problem that was happening before surgery. I breastfed early on with my daughter, and that caused my boobs to deflate. And then losing weight on top of that, they're literally just 2 sacks of skin now at this point. So I get really, really self-conscious about that. And because of that, I feel a little bit uncomfortable if my bra isn't on. When it comes to the loose skin I have in all the other areas, I don't really care, but for that I do have some insecurity still, and I still like to kind of cover up in that area, but that's fine. You find ways to work with those things, but at the end of the day, I feel so much more confident with these sack of skin boobs than I did with my 283 or 274 pound body. So I still would take this body over that body any day. And I still feel more confident and more sexy in this body than that body any day. And definitely feel more of a sexual being in this body than that body any day. The next question is still along these same lines. This person said, do you notice any changes in how you or your partner view intimacy together? Example, right now, I'm often very self-conscious being fully nude during intimacy and often wonder how things will be in my new body after surgery. I hope this doesn't sound weird. And it's funny that she ended that with, hope it doesn't sound weird, because I literally just said the same thing. So if you ask this question, just know that that is absolutely not weird. I definitely can relate to you, and I'm sure a lot of people watching this video can relate to you as well. So no, don't feel like that is weird. When you're not feeling confident in yourself, it's normal to not want to be seen naked. And yeah, like I said earlier, losing weight definitely will help with that, but it doesn't fix the problem, because there are new things that you will start to find insecurity in. But overall, yes, being naked is definitely something I know, at least for me, that I'm a lot more comfortable with now than I was before. When it comes to with my husband, I'll notice myself, even like outside of like intimate settings, just be more willing to be seen without clothes on, and I'll notice him looking at me in a way that makes me feel like I look good, whereas before I didn't really notice that. And I just want to point out that when I say that I notice him looking at me when I don't have clothes on now in a way where it's like, whereas I didn't notice that before, that's not me saying that he didn't find me beautiful before. That's me saying that I didn't notice it before. And I think that would be because my insecurity before would have made me think that if he was looking at me and I was naked, that he was disgusted with me because I was disgusted with me. And that's nothing to do with him. Whereas now, when I don't have clothes on, I've already checked myself out in the mirror and I know I look good. So when he's looking at me now, I feel like he's looking at me in a way that says that he feels like I look good. But I don't know that that was necessarily a different look than he was giving me before. It's just the way I'm internalizing it is different than it was before. Now, granted, maybe it is that he was looking at me with disgust before and that is really what it is, but I don't think so. I think the way that I'm internalizing it is a lot different because of how I feel about myself. And that's why I say how important it is to really feel sexy for yourself before you even worry about other people finding you sexy, even if it is your partner. Like, your partner is going to feel like you look sexy when you feel like you look sexy. Just because, like, take the weight loss out of the equation, just feeling sexy and confident is like, you radiate that. And when you're radiating that, people are going to start to look at you different because of the energy that you're giving off. If you are somebody who is insecure, you kind of radiate that as well. And it's something that isn't attractive. When you are constantly kind of feeling unattractive and hiding yourself. However, confidence is attractive. There are people, even think about, there's some people that like maybe are not your physical type, but they're very confident in the way that they look. And because of that, they just appear to be more attractive than they actually are because of their confidence. This is kind of the same thing. So on this journey, as much as a lot of people ask questions about their spouses or partners' opinion on how they look, it genuinely, to me anyway, to me, it doesn't matter as much as how sexy you feel you look, because they'll follow suit. Like, the sexier you start to feel, the more confident you're going to start to act. The more sexier you feel, the more confident you act, the more people are going to start to look at you as a sexy, confident human being. And in turn, your partner or your spouse will start to see you in that way, regardless of what flaws you may have now or whatever it is. But let's not get it twisted. As much as it is more important to care about how you see yourself, I definitely do feel great being able to notice how differently my husband looks at me, and, you know, the lust was that lust eyes or was that creep eyes? Whatever. I meant to do lust eyes, like that type of thing. Like, I definitely notice it more, and that definitely feels good. So yeah. Also, I will say that the sensations down there are definitely more increased after surgery. That I'm not sure what exactly causes that. I don't know if it's the weight loss itself or the hormonal changes that you experience after surgery. But I will say that before surgery, there was a point where I thought she was broken, because, like, you know, you're just not getting the same sensations that you were when, like, for me, when I was lighter, I wasn't feeling those same sensations when I was heavier. But then losing weight also definitely increased the sensation down there. So that obviously is going to make sex more enjoyable if you can feel things more. So yeah, all around 10 out of 10, highly recommend. Next question is, how did your husband and friends respond to your weight loss? And I think this is going to be different depending on who we're talking about. As far as my husband, he lives with me. So he was here for the gradual changes. And when you live with someone, it's harder to be able to notice things as soon as other people can, because you're literally with them every day. So my husband would be here. He's seen every time I weigh in. He knew all my changes. He congratulated me at every step of the process. And like I said, I've noticed a difference in the way that he looks at me and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, he's responded in a way that shows that, like, he knows his wife is losing weight. I'll catch sometimes, I'll be like getting dressed and he'll be like, where are you going? Like, he'll look at me, or he'll just walk up to me and like touch my collarbone or something, and he'll be like, wow, like, you're losing so much weight. Like, he'll constantly do stuff like that. And it's reassuring to me. It makes me feel good. When it comes to friends, that's where it gets tricky. I experience both. So I have friends who are constantly like, wow, you're killing it, you're doing great. But to be honest, that's not most. To be honest, most people that I know in my real life have not even mentioned that I've lost weight. They don't ask me anything about my journey and what's going on. They don't check in with me around that or acknowledge that any type of change in me or anything like that. For the most part, the people that have been giving me the most shine and noticing my weight loss and commenting on my weight loss and boosting me up, those people have really been people that online, either it's subscribers, Instagram followers, or even just like, you know, internet friends, like people that you follow that you never really met, you don't even know how y'all know each other. Those people, that's who's been the most supportive. And that's just crazy to me, because, you know, you would expect it to be the people who are like really in your life and you thought was down for you. But in the beginning, when I first lost weight, I was at work still. Maybe for like the first 3 or 4 months after surgery, I was at work. And when I say maybe one person out of all my coworkers ever even acknowledged that I had lost any weight. And granted, it was early on, so maybe they really didn't notice, or maybe they just wasn't paying that much attention to me, and that's fine. But yeah, like people I knew at work weren't really commenting on it. Friends weren't really commenting on it. If I saw a friend that I hadn't seen in a really long time, they wouldn't comment on it either. It was really not until like I would say something that maybe they'd be like, yeah, you really did lose a lot of weight. And I think that's because a mixture of sometimes people don't want to see you be great, but also I think sometimes people just really don't know if they're supposed to comment on it. So I don't know that everybody had malicious intent with it, but I do know that I would like to have heard positive compliments and stuff like that from friends when I saw them. It would make me feel good. So if you're watching this and we're friends in real life, compliment me. I love compliments. All right, so sticking with the theme of intimacy, the next question says, it's hard for me to feel beautiful and be in the mood for my partner because I get in my head a lot about being intimate. Any tips? And for this one, I'm assuming that you mean before surgery, but you could also mean after surgery, so I'm not sure. So I'm going to answer for both. Before surgery, I definitely felt the same, and it had nothing to do with my husband and everything to do with me. I felt like I wasn't attractive. I felt, I did not feel confident in myself, so I always found it difficult to get in the mood when I was so concerned with, oh my God, my belly probably looks huge. Oh my God, this looks bad. Oh my God, I don't want to be seen at this angle or that angle or stuff like that. I was constantly in my head about that. Whereas now, I definitely don't feel that way. Like now, none of my, other than my boobs, like I said earlier, nothing about my body makes me feel insecure really anymore. Obviously my body is not perfect. I do have loose skin, I have stretch marks, I have all of that, but I'm not bothered by that anymore. As far as tips, so we talk about how to get to this point. If you're talking after surgery, once you know you've lost weight and you should be feeling good about yourself and you're still not, what I would suggest for that is spend some time literally just standing in the mirror completely naked, just looking at yourself, and look at yourself and point things out to yourself in the mirror that you feel look good. Point out any progress that you notice and just spend some time just standing there staring at yourself. This is something that I do pretty much every single day, usually in the bathroom mirror right before I hop into the shower. I'll just stop and just take time to just look at myself and appreciate my body for what it is now, recognizing that it isn't perfect, but being so proud of it for how far it has come. And the more you just stare at yourself, the more you're going to be able to unlock that sense of confidence and see your beauty. Don't hide from the mirror. Really just spend time just looking at yourself. And the more you build that confidence in yourself, and believe me, it takes time. The way I feel now is not the way that I felt even maybe a month or two ago. But even with each month comes a new level of confidence, and trust in that. Trust that it is a process, that you're not going to get surgery and then tomorrow just feel so confident. It may take you 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever it is. It may take you a long time to start to really feel that confidence within yourself. Allow yourself the time to get there. And in the meantime, the tip of really just like spending some time just looking at yourself in the mirror. Wear something sexy and look at yourself in it. Take pictures. You know what type of pictures I mean. Take pictures, even if you don't send them to anybody, just take them just so that you can take time to appreciate yourself as a beautiful sexual being. And over time, you will start to project that type of energy, and that type of energy will be received back from the people that you want to receive it in that way. In this case, you know, who you're romantic with. All right, next question is, when did people around you begin to notice your appearance was different? For this question, to me, it took a lot longer than it took for me to notice that my appearance was different. For me, and I feel actually pretty grateful about this, because I feel like I noticed within myself the changes pretty early on. And also a lot of you noticed the changes pretty early on in my face, because I'm always filming, you know, this part of my body. A lot of you, even by like my 2-week update, was like, oh my God, girl, your face is getting so much smaller. And I actually agreed, and I did see it. However, the people around me, I don't think we're seeing it early on. And I don't want to put nobody on the spot, but there was even like a specific coworker at the time of mine that I remember when I was like, however many months post-op I was, when I had hit like a 45-pound weight loss, which is pretty significant. And at this point, I had already went down a few clothing sizes. I was feeling good about myself. And I remember mentioning to her that I had had the surgery and that I had lost 45 pounds, and her looking me dead in my eyes and saying, oh, I don't really see anything different. And I remember being like wanting to strangle her, because it was just like, what? Like, I see the difference. Like, how are you not seeing the difference? And I still don't know if that was her being a hater or if she just genuinely didn't see the difference. But I will say that that early on happened a lot. Like, people just kind of not noticing it. Either vocalizing that they weren't noticing it or not saying that they were noticing it, regardless of what it was. And I want to say it wasn't until I was about 4, 5, maybe 5. About 5 months post-op is when I think people in my real life started actually commenting on it. And once again, I told you, there's people in my real life who still have never commented on my weight loss. But around 5 months, I want to say, is when my weight loss was noticeable enough to where like you can't not see it now at this point. So 5 months. But earlier on, I don't know what to say. All right, so the next question says, are you an influencer full-time? I'm an educator and I want to leave the field. I'm exhausted. I'm also starting my VSG journey and have PCOS. So your posts have helped me so much. Thank you. All right, so those of you who've been watching me this entire time, when I started my VSG journey, I was a teacher. I had been teaching for about 5 years prior to that. And I recently quit. I am no longer an educator, although I do still work in the education field. So I guess that answers your question. No, I am not a full-time influencer. I'm still a part-time influencer. Full-time, I do still work a 9-to-5 job within the education field, but I'm not a teacher. Just for a little context, I work for the network side of schools, which, if you're not someone who's familiar with charter school lingo, it's basically like the corporate offices for a school that manage a school. But I don't work within school buildings anymore. So yeah, not a full-time influencer. I do want to be a full-time influencer at some point. I'm setting my goal to be able to maybe achieve that goal in the next year or two. But as for right now, no, YouTube does not completely pay all my bills. Although I am a monetized channel and I do make money off of my videos and my brand partnerships. But no, not a full-time YouTuber yet. And I can 1000% relate to that feeling of being exhausted as an educator, especially as a post-pandemic educator. And post-pandemic, that's a weird term to use, being that things are still out there, but post-pandemic educator, things changed. Things were different. Teaching used to be fun. And then after everything with COVID, things were not fun. Things were just a lot. So I commend you for sticking with the field. I know so many of us have left, including myself. But yeah, I'm no longer teaching, but I am not a full-time YouTuber yet. You mentioned having PCOS. I also do have PCOS. I still do have some of my PCOS symptoms, but those have been getting better. So I'm glad that you can relate so much to my journey. I'm glad we can connect on that. And You also said that my posts have helped you so much. And I want to just say that y'all have helped me so much. Like, y'all always talk about how much I help y'all. But like I said, I don't have that much support in my actual real life. And you guys have been so supportive, especially comments like this. This person's an educator. This person has PCOS. They dealt with similar things to me. It makes me feel like I can relate to somebody and that I'm not doing this alone. So as much as you guys say I help you, you guys help me. So thank you. All right, next question is, what is it like drinking alcohol for the first time post-op? For alcohol, it has not gone how I've expected it. Like, based off of reviews that I was reading from other people, I expected to be like drinking a drink and being drunk, passed out on the floor. And that honestly has not been my experience. I've been able to drink and have not had any issues. The most difference in how I'm drinking now versus before is I can't drink more than one drink. I barely even finish a drink, and that might be why I don't get drunk. But I was told that like I would be getting drunk off of the smallest amount of alcohol, and that has not been true. If anything, I feel like my tolerance may even be a little bit higher these days. Like, I feel like from the amount of alcohol that I'm able to drink, I used to get a little bit tipsy off of that. Whereas now, like, I feel like it's very rare that I actually feel drunk when drinking. The first time I drank, which was in Mexico, was it the first time I drank? No, it wasn't. The first time I drank was at Tao, and I felt it a little bit really quickly. Like, I had like 3 sips and felt it. And I was like, wow, so if I ever drink again, I'm gonna be drunk quick. So I hadn't drank again after that because I was afraid that I would be drunk quick if 3 sips of a drink at a restaurant made me feel so tipsy. Then I went to Mexico, and the first drink I had like 3 sips again, and I was done off them 3 sips. But then since then, every drink that I've had after that one, I barely felt. And I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's just they were watering down the drinks or what it was, but I haven't had any issues with alcohol. If I was ever like out and like wanted to be drunk, I think I could by just having, making sure I finish my drink by drinking over time. But it's never been that deep for me. I have alcohol doesn't make me feel sick. I'm able to drink drinks that are sugary and not have any problems. The only time I've ever felt sick after drinking was when in Jamaica I had a strawberry daiquiri, but then also had ice cream within that same hour. But that's only because of the sugar overload from the strawberry daiquiri and the ice cream. If I had just had the strawberry daiquiri, I would have been fine. So yeah, my experience with alcohol has been pretty good. I just don't overdo it. All right, next question is, are there any concerns with having more kids? And I've already said in the beginning of this video, I don't want any more kids. Ryan is more than enough for me. I want her to be an only child and just be spoiled and be able to travel. You know, there's three seats in the row in the airplane. We don't need no more people. So I'm not concerned about having more kids. However, if I did change my mind, which is possible, you know, people change their mind, I think I would be kind of excited to start a TTC journey, trying to conceive, if you don't know what that means, in the future, if I decided to have more kids, which right now is a hard no. Only because I think that I would be more fertile now than I was before, because I did struggle with infertility when I conceived Ryan. We did a few cycles of IUI. We did all type of shots and pills and trackers and all type of craziness to conceive her. She ended up being conceived naturally after 3 months of keto. But yeah, last time I tried to conceive and had to go 2 years of trying to conceive and not conceiving. That was really stressful. So I'm pretty confident that if I was to want to conceive now, that I am smaller and my PCOS symptoms are kind of calm, that it would be easier to conceive. So I think that in that case, if I was ever ready to do that again, things would go well. So no, I don't have any concerns with wanting to conceive. I just have concerns with getting pregnant now. Like, I just need to make sure that I do not get pregnant now. Keep the baby juices away from me. We don't want this here. We don't want this. All right, next question says, this may be personal, but why did you decide to quit your teaching job? Were you scared to take the leap of faith even though you just bought a house? Do you think VSG helped you walk more into your purpose? Sorry if I'm too invasive. Once again, I'm a very open book, so no, that was not too invasive. I quit my teaching job because it no longer brought me any joy. And let me not say any joy, because I genuinely, that last group of kids I taught, when I say I love those kids, I genuinely love those kids. And I, as an educator, had a habit of constantly staying in my job as a teacher because of the kids and being like, oh, well, I have to stay until this group of kids graduates. I have to stay until this group of kids goes to the next grade. I have to stay until this group of kids, and constantly making my decision based off the kids, even in a scenario where I wasn't happy. And this happens a lot because the schools do it too, to teachers. Anytime you express any type of dissatisfaction, school leaders would be like, well, it's for the kids. Well, do it for the kids. Oh, don't you care about the kids? And it got to the point where it was like, I care about the kids, but I also have to care about me. And I also have to care about my kid. Like, I'm also a mom. And that job was taking so much of me, not just my time, but so much of my emotional availability that it just wasn't sustainable for me anymore. And I was finding myself coming home drained, not tired, like I didn't want to go to sleep, but I was just so emotionally drained that like I would just want to sit on the couch and not be productive, and I felt sad. On the weekends, I would get really bad anxiety leading up to Monday, to where I wouldn't even be able to enjoy my weekend anymore. I just wasn't happy. And I hadn't been happy for about 3 years. But I kept finding excuses to go back. And you mentioned, was me buying a house issue for me with deciding to quit my job, and also did the surgery help give me the boost to quit my job. And I will say that quitting your job when you had just bought a house like 2 months prior is a scary thing, right? Let's be real. It's never going to be a comfortable thing to decide to up and quit a job when you literally just made a huge investment that is an expensive investment, that is a big bill to have. So I did not come to that decision lightly. I did have a little bit of a savings put in place that I knew would allow me to take a few months off and give me the chance to find something that I actually love doing. And it's the kind of thing that if it had not been for the surgery, I would not have had the confidence in myself that I had. Like, I left my job without another job lined up, knowing that I would be okay. Like, I just had it in my heart that I knew that I would land on my feet and that I would find something that made me happy. It made me feel like I was living in my purpose. And I just knew it was time. And I felt very, very confident that I would find another job before my savings was depleted. And I did. I did find another job before I ran out of money. And that wasn't based off anything other than the faith I had in myself. And it's a faith I had in myself that I did not have before. That this surgery had just kind of showed me how capable I am of doing anything that I want to do. So yeah, I think the surgery did help with that, because the amount of faith I have in myself now is not something that I had in myself before. I don't think the old me would have ever made such a crazy decision to literally purchase a house and then quit their job with no job lined up with a brand new house. Like, saying that back sounds insane, but when I made that decision, I did not feel crazy. I did not feel scared. I literally had so much confidence in myself that I would be able to figure it out, that I just took a leap of faith like that and had to choose me. And I'm so immensely grateful that I decided to make that decision, because I feel so happy now. I don't have weekend anxiety anymore. I can spend my days being productive. I enjoy what I do now for a living. It doesn't drain me at all. It's the kind of job that I can do and then clock out and be done. There's no prepping for the job. Every part of my work responsibility can be done within the hours of my work. So I just really am really grateful for the fact that I took a leap of faith, and I took a shot and bet it on myself and won. So yeah, the surgery is definitely what gave me that extra push. Next question asks, since having surgery, what is it like to eat out at restaurants with other people? Are people judgmental? So I've honestly really, really enjoyed eating out at restaurants. I haven't seen any judgment. The most judgment I've noticed with like the fact that I don't finish my food is like the waiter or the waitress being like, was everything okay? Like, they're just kind of more so like concerned, like they think you didn't like the food. But I'll either just be like, oh no, can we just get a bag and take it home? Or I'll just reassure them that the food is great, even though like they see I'm not eating it. Sometimes I've even thought about being straightforward and just being like, hey, I actually had bariatric surgery and I can only eat small portions. So can you give me a bag to bring the rest home since I can't finish it here, but the food was amazing. I think that that's what I'm going to say next. But so far, no, nobody's been judgmental. I've been out to eat. I haven't been out to eat with anybody other than my husband. Like I haven't been to like a dinner party or anything. I actually hate dinner parties, so I don't like to go to them because I'm not arguing with nobody about a bill. But with my husband, obviously he knows why I'm not finishing my food. Better for him anyway, because he gets to have some of my food. Before surgery, I did not like sharing food, and now I'm all about sharing my food because I know I can't finish it. So no, eating out has been great. My suggestion with this is the way I handle it is I always order my drinks first, including the alcohol. I'll eat something before I leave so that I have a little bit of food in my stomach, so when I drink I won't like get sick or anything. And then when I get to the restaurant, I'll start on my drinks. I'll drink some water. I'll drink my alcoholic beverage. And then I'll place my order for my food to give enough time for my food to come before I eat, because you know you can't eat and drink like at the same time. So I'll do all the drinking first, then I'll order my food, and then I'll eat a little bit of food and stop. And then me and my husband will just kind of sit at the table and talk. And then by then my restriction loosens up a little bit. I'll eat a little bit more. And then at that point, I'll ask the waiter for a bag to take the rest home. And then I have food for like the next 2 days based off of whatever I didn't eat. So it's been a really good experience. It allows me to be in the moment more, because being in a restaurant, I'm talking to my husband and I'm taking my time to eat my food so I can eat a little bit more than I usually can. So the experience has been really, really enjoyable. And I can also assume that if I was to ever go out to eat with a group that wasn't just my husband, everybody at the table would already know my situation as well. As you know, I'm really, really open about the fact that I had surgery. So anybody who I'm sitting down to eat with would know that and wouldn't be judgmental. If I was ever at dinner with somebody who didn't know and I didn't feel comfortable telling them, then in that case, I would probably order an appetizer as a meal and eat a little bit of it and take the rest home. But honestly, if I'm sitting down to eat with somebody that I don't feel comfortable to tell that I've had surgery, I don't want to sit down to eat with them anyway, because that doesn't sound like the type of person I want to be around. Next question is, how soon did you start buying new clothes after losing weight? And the answer to that question is too soon. Like, I think I started buying clothes maybe like 2 or 3 months post-op. Only reason was because I was at work and my clothes were getting too big. So I needed a few items to wear to work that would be okay, like pants and like a few tops to wear to work. I didn't buy like casual clothes because I was still just kind of wearing the clothes that was too big and it was fine. But everything that I bought at that point is also now too big. Some of it I can still make it work. Like this top is something that I bought maybe like 3 months post-op that is too big now, but I actually just make it work. I can't wear this out because it's too big to wear out, but like to wear it in the house or just take pictures or something, I can still wear it. I like have it tied in the back so that these don't fall down, and the bottom part here is stretchy, so like it looks fine. I would recommend buying things that have like a lot of stretch, wrap dresses, things like that. Anything with an elastic waistband that you can like pull the strings, those type of things I can recommend buying early on, because you can still grow with them and lose weight and it still fit fine. But as far as buying like your super stylish outfits, I'd wait for a little bit on that. Maybe like at around like 6 months post-op, you can start buying clothes depending on how much weight you've lost at that point. And refrain from buying anything too expensive. Y'all know I love Zara, and Zara isn't like ridiculously pricey, but it's on the pricier end of things. So when it comes to Zara, I started buying things from places like that at around 5 or 6 months post-op. Should I have done that? No, because there's some stuff that I bought that already are too big, but I wanted to treat myself. So it depends on your budget. If you are trying to save money, I'd say, you know, buy clothes every now and then from places like Shein, where things are less expensive. But if budget is not an object to you, then shop whenever you feel like. If it makes you feel happy, like for me, it just makes me feel happy to buy clothes and feel good. I'm okay with the clothes getting big and having to buy more clothes, only because I care more about how I feel right now, in the now, and feeling good. but I don't recommend doing any sort of big shopping until you are at least like 5 months post-op. Because whatever size you are at that point, the clothes will last you a little bit longer. So yeah, it was around then when I started. But even still now, I'm 7 months post-op now, and my closet is still pretty empty. I still have not done like a full clothing reboot and haven't like redone my wardrobe. I think I will do that maybe in like a month or two. But yeah. All right, the next question is, have people started treating you differently since you've lost weight? And the answer to this question is, in my opinion, absolutely. For example, before surgery, I cannot tell you the last time, other than like a child's birthday party, I cannot tell you the last time, and that's because I have a daughter. People are inviting me to party because I have a kid. But outside of that, nobody was inviting me to anything. Since losing weight, I have noticed that people are inviting me to everything. Like anything they're having, I'm getting invited to it. I'm getting invited to stuff like every day, every week. Like people are constantly wanting to come out with me. Old friends I've been reconnecting with. Like so many people that I have not spoken to in years have been reaching out. And I think it's a mixture of things. I think not only is it that I've lost weight, but I think I'm also putting out a vibe that is saying that I'm more welcoming of friendship and going out than I was before. Whereas before, I feel like I very clearly did not want to hang out. I wasn't into that. Whereas now, I feel like it's more obvious that I'd be more willing to go out. Like I look more welcoming and inviting and friendly, I guess. I don't know if the fact that like I'm growing a social media presence has anything to do with it, but I'd hope that has nothing to do with it. I'd hope that it would just be that because I've lost weight, I seem more willing to participate in social events and things like that, which is true. I mean, since losing weight, I do want to go out more than I did when I was bigger. So I think people in my life are just kind of picking up on that. But definitely people have, and then outside of people that I know personally, strangers are being a hell of a lot nicer to me than they were before. Not that anybody was mean to me before, but I noticed things like I sat down in a restaurant to wait for my husband the other day, and I was getting free drinks. Like the bartender was just giving me drinks for free. Stuff like that did not happen to me when I was heavier. I'm noticing like cashiers in stores being more willing to be like, oh, we actually I have a coupon I can give you, and things like that. Nobody was saying that to me before. I get a lot more compliments when I'm out and about that I was not getting before. I notice people looking at me that before I felt invisible, and now I'm noticing so many eyes on me that is different. So 1,000%, I definitely notice a huge change in the way people treat me, both like people that I know personally and complete strangers. It can be kind of overwhelming at times because I'm not used to it, but I'm not gonna lie, it is a little bit of an ego boost. It does feel good to get that attention, but it's definitely not something that I'm used to. And sometimes my introverted self is just like, oh my God, stop looking at me. And other times I'm like, ooh, you think I'm cute? But overall, yes, I definitely noticed a huge difference in the way people treat me after surgery. All right, so the next question is, has your daughter noticed that you look different? And to this one, not that I know of, like she's 3. She hasn't been like, mommy, you lost weight, like, or anything like that. But what I will say that I noticed that she's noticed is things like my loose skin. Like I've caught her, like she'll randomly, like if I like have on, like if my stomach is exposed or something, I've seen her come over and like poke it or even like try to pinch it. She's even noticed like my incisions when like I have no shirt on. She's walked over to me and like touched one time and been like, what's that, mommy? And I'll tell her that it's mommy has a scar or whatever, or something like that. She doesn't mean anything by it. She's just curious. And I don't feel a type of way when she does it. I can see how somebody else might, but I don't really feel a type of way about it. She really is just curious. But as far as noticing that I'm smaller, I don't think she does notice at all. There was one time, if you follow me on Instagram, I had posted a reel with me at her first birthday, and then I flashed to me wearing the same shirt now. And every time we watch that video, she points to the before picture and goes, mommy's bigger. So I think that's her saying that she notices that I was bigger in the beginning. But as far as just like every day, you know, just noticing that I look different, I don't think she does. I don't think kids care about that kind of stuff to even notice. Yeah. All right, the next question is, when did people really start to notice your weight loss, and do you get a lot of compliments on how you look now? So this question I did sort of answer already as far as when people started to notice my weight loss, which is probably after like 4 months post-op. As far as compliments, yes, I do get a lot of compliments now. I love compliments, although I do have a hard time accepting compliments. I kind of just be like, whatever. But they do make me feel good. So I do actually like compliments. I just don't know how to receive compliments, if that makes sense. But I do get a lot of compliments, mostly though, unfortunately, mostly from people I do not know. I do not get that many compliments from people I know in real life. And does that bother me? Yes. Is it the end of the world? No. But I get compliments. My husband compliments me all the time. I get compliments from you guys. I get compliments like outside in like the real world. But yeah. But all of that, like the heavy compliments and stuff like that, that all started, I want to say maybe around 5 months post-op. Mostly, I think that also has a lot to do though with my energy, and the confidence that I'm putting out is very different from before 5 months post-op and before surgery. So I think on top of the fact that yes, I did start receiving compliments around that time, I also think that I started acting different around that time, which is what welcomed a lot of that energy and attention. All right, so that is the last question for this part of this video. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, this video is going to be 3 videos long because I got a lot of questions. So I wanted to make sure that I didn't create like a 3-hour long video. So there's this video. The next video is going to be answering all the questions that you asked about what the process is like pre-op. So make sure you have the notification bell hit so that when I post that next video, you don't miss it, especially if you are just starting your journey and are really curious about some of the things you need to know pre-op. The next Q&A will be strictly questions that you all ask that relate to pre-op before you have the surgery. The third video is going to be all about post-op, life after VSG. So that is how I'm splitting that up. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to go ahead and give me a comment, give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video.
Where in the world is Karen San Diego? From BK to Belly, it's anywhere she say so. She changing your life, can see it straight through her eyes. And sister